Hello, and welcome back to Los Angeles Sex Therapy Team Video Interview Series, founded by Moushumi Ghose, MFT. In this series, we introduce you to our therapists and our coaches so you can get to know them on a more personal level by seeing them, hearing their voices, and learning more about their unique approaches to this work. I'm your host, Jamie Azar, sex and relationship and intimacy coach at Last and founder of Erotic Expressions. And today we're joined by Lacey Bond, who will be sharing insights into her philosophy and the way she supports clients. Welcome, Lacey, and thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you for running our interviews. You're fantastic at it.
We're excited to learn more about your work. And so we're curious for you, Lacey, what inspired you to become a sex coach?
It was the realization that I come from purity culture, ex-evangelical, raised super devout, super good Christian girl. And I realized that I had an opportunity to help other purity survivors because there's really not a lot of resources out there for them and for us. And when I was deconstructing that whole mindset and like putting a name to it on like patheos.com, like discovering the term purity culture, I was like, oh, that's what it's called. And so my deconstruction from that was really kind of self-led, and it would have been really nice to have somebody like I had community and such, but like it'd be nice if there were more books, programs, professionals who could like reach out a hand and be like, hey, I've done this before. It's really doable. I'll show you how. And so that's what made me want to become a sex and intimacy coach, because those topics are so deeply stigmatized and shame-filled for purity survivors.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. And what would you say is your unique approach to working with clients?
So the fact that I lived purity culture, I got my first purity ring when I was, I want to say 11, young enough that I don't remember exactly when it was. And I actually was a super devout Christian, and I went to Biola University, which is one of the top 3 most conservative accredited schools in the country. I do have a real degree, but in that experience, I really legit studied the Bible. You have to have a minor in biblical studies to graduate from Biola. It's a requirement. And so I have a really deep understanding of not just the purity culture experience, the Christian purity culture experience in the Christian faith, but like of theology, of doctrine, of church history, of exegesis, which is the process. If you're not deep in Christianese, exegesis is the process and practice of examining and interpreting the text. And so I have that from the Christian's perspective, as well as the post-Christian perspective, and an understanding of expansive theologies and concepts that actually like move the needle for people who have such a deep tie between sexual experience and sexual shame sometimes, often, along with that religious belief, along with typically like this fear of hell that I think a lot of people that don't come from that don't really understand. The concept, it's not just if you have sex, you will get pregnant and you will die, Mean Girl style. It's like, and you'll go to hell and you will suffer there for eternity. And sexual sin is elevated to an insane degree in American Christianity. So specifically for working with purity survivors, being able to speak that language and understand the religious underpinnings is, I find, a major factor for people.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing all that. I think that's really helpful in clarifying how you work with clients, your own personal experience has helped you, and also beyond that, just your experience and knowledge in theology, like you said, and just knowing how those types of challenges people face from coming from that background of purity culture and being able to offer support through that. I'm curious for you, Lacey, what's one misconception about sex therapy that you'd like to clear up?
Well, the concept that sex therapy or sex coaching is like all about sex, we do a lot more talking about the self and consent, whether it's, you know, self-consent, which you've written about, which I love, and external consent with like other people. And I really just do a lot more work guiding people to their own agency and autonomy than I do about talking about like salacious, sexy things. Like that is definitely a part of it. Like I work with people who are exploring new experiences, whether it's, you know, sex for the first time, self-pleasure for the first time, or, you know, maybe they have some experience and they're wanting to branch out into, you know, more taboo things or kinky, exciting things. But it's a lot of just talking about, it's just a lot of talking and self-work. Yeah, it's not as salacious as people think.
Yeah,
But
thanks for clarifying.
But it's like a safe place for that, because a lot of you know, mental health contexts just don't quite have space and understanding for sex and sexuality. So it is about that, but we talk about a lot of stuff that like underpins it more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for clarifying. And it's been curious along these interview series that tends to be the misconception that practitioners want to clear up is, ironically, sex therapy isn't always all about sex. So it's been great to hear those answers. Thanks for sharing yours as well. I'm curious for you, what's something that you absolutely love about your work?
I like getting to see people, particularly women, realize, like, come into their bodily sovereignty, which sounds, you know, a little academic, but to get a bit of a layperson's definition, realizing that like, this is my body and my experience, and it's okay. My body is good. People developing comfort and power within themselves is what I really like seeing. And I love when someone comes in who like has already done that and they're like, and now I'm ready for the next step, whatever it is.
Yeah, especially I've heard you mention bodily sovereignty, you know, internal consent, agency, autonomy. And I'm curious for you, what connection you feel there that uniquely plays with folks coming from purity culture.
Yeah, great question. So one of the main detriments and deleterious effects that purity culture has on a person's psyche and sexuality is that your body is not your own, and that your body is wrong or sinful, or, you know, if you are female or AFAB, your body is a source of lust and temptation for other people, for men. Like, I'm gonna gender binary this, because this culture tends to be very traditionalist, but girls and women, girls being the operative word here, are sexualized and objectified and taught that my body might stumble my brothers in Christ. It might cause a pastor to stumble, which, do not put that responsibility on a teen, on a child. That is a grown man. But this idea that the body is not ours, that it's, you know, it's a temple for God, or it belongs to God, or it belongs to your spouse. Side note, the passage about your body being a temple is not about virginity. It is about not mixing religions when you are supposed to be in a monotheistic new faith. But that's a digression that we can talk about with the Episcopal priest who validated that for me at WeHo Pride this summer. That was a delightful, unexpected doctrinal conversation. But the idea that the body is not your own and your body's like not good, people unlearning that and realizing like, oh, I'm just me and it's okay. And this is just like a very human experience and it's okay.
And I'm curious, with that being said, how do you want clients to feel after a session with you?
I want clients to feel like they're in control of their own journey, but there is someone with them holding their hand and holding up a lantern so that they can decide where they want to go. And they feel safe and secure. Like, imagine if you're walking through a forest at night, but you have someone with you who is both a guide and a protector. Oh my God, I think I've just described Aragorn from Lord of the Rings. Yes, I'm Aragorn, and I want you to feel like the hobbits.
Okay, I get it. And I love that, you know, and it sounds like you know, you aren't there to tell anyone what to do or think, like you said. You are more of a guide, you're a facilitator, you're collaborating with your clients. Is there anything else you would want to add in terms of, you know, what informs your work or what makes your work unique with clients?
I think the fact that I am a BDSM practitioner actually comes into it quite a lot, because the practice of BDSM is so deeply focused on bodily sovereignty, agency, autonomy, and consent. Because to have healthy power exchange, you have to be coming from a place of equal power and understanding who you are and what you like and don't like. The concept of limits is really big in BDSM, soft and hard limits. Here are things that I absolutely won't do. Here are things that may not be my favorite, but let's talk about it. Kind of like a yes, no, maybe list for the vanillas. But that community and culture, I've actually found, is appealing to a lot of purity survivors, because it offers an answer to that question or excision of our autonomy and agency, because purity culture really does take that away. And it is very interesting to me that there are so many purity survivors in the BDSM world. And I think it is because of that emphasis on agency and autonomy, and also like a fun place to play around with, you know, whatever fun fantasies we've been given by our religious experiences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you mentioned working with post-purity survivors, people who are interested in exploring kink and BDSM. Are there any other specialties you'd like to touch on in terms of the folks that generally find you or that you work with?
Yeah, for sure. I work a lot with queer folks. I work a lot with polyamorous folks. Second adolescence is a big it's a big overlap area for purity survivors, because for a lot of people who didn't get to have a lot of like typical human teenage experience and adolescence experiences, a lot of us kind of, after we deprogram and realize what was going on for us, like, oh, I experienced sexual repression. Crazy. In our 30s, our 20s and 30s, we'll start having the second adolescence. And I love when people come to me in that phase. So yeah, kinksters, polyamorous, queer babies, and you know, as part of that second adolescence.
Thanks for sharing that. That's really helpful. And to wrap us up here today, we'll end with a little fun fact. I'm curious for you, what's one hobby, passion, or fun fact that shapes who you are, Lacey?
I cosplay. I have been running cosplay panels at San Diego Comic-Con for the last 5-ish years, and I'm very good at styling wigs.
Yes, thank you so much. And definitely, if you haven't already, then follow Lacey at IntimacyLacey on Instagram, right? Joy Goblin, you can see some of that amazing work that you do in the world of cosplay as well. It's really neat and artistic. So in addition to all the great work you do in the realm of sex coaching, is there anything else, Lacey, you're feeling invited to say or share now to viewers or listeners or people who are considering working with you?
I do free consults if you are considering working with me. I love to do a chat and get a feel for what people are focused on. If you are in the Los Angeles area and you are interested in exploring adult stores, queer spaces, kinky or dungeon spaces, or munches, I do offer like field trip excursions where I can be Aragorn and take my little hobbits out to wherever it is they wish to experience and explore in a way that feels safe and supported.
Well, thank you so much for adding that and sharing that information. It's been a pleasure learning more about you and your work today. And we just appreciate you being here and sharing your time with us.
Of course. I love you.
Love you too. And thanks everyone for being here. We'll see you next time on Los Angeles Sex Therapy Team Video Interview Series. Thanks for being here.